Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Tuesday Night Live with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. I am located in Oregon in the United States. I am very happy that you have joined me tonight, and thank you so much for doing so. No, I'm competing with the Olympics tonight, and really there's no competition, so if you're watching the Olympics, I hope you're enjoying it. All right, let's go ahead and see who's on. And let's see if I can get this up. Get Facebook to cooperate here. There we go. Let's get that open so I can see those comments. Hello, Cynthia. So glad you could join me. All right, we are going to be using the Filled with Cheer stamp set today. But before we get started on that, we're going to talk about a designer series paper sale, which is coming up beginning August 6th. So Stampin' Up! Has announced that they will begin a designer series paper sale. It will go from the 6th of August through the 31st of August, or while supplies last on the designer series paper. And they have chosen specific papers that are in the annual catalog. So we have Bright and Beautiful, the Countryside Inn, Country Lace, Country Woods, Full of Life, Lily Pond, Mediterranean Blooms, Perennial Lavender, Take to the Sky, Thoughtful Journey. You guys, if you haven't gotten this, I highly recommend that you grab that 48 pack of 6x6 paper. It says it's 12 by 12, but that's inaccurate. It's actually 6 by 6. Okay, and then we have the To Market, Unbounded Beauty, Wildly Flowering, and the Winter Meadow. Now this pack of paper we're going to be using in YouTube Live on Thursday night. So you'll be sure to check into YouTube for that. All right, so that'll be 15% off of all those papers beginning August 6th. And you can also redeem your bonus days coupons in August and save even more. All right. So the Filled with Cheer stamp set is a standalone stamp set. However, it has dies from the Filled with Fun bundle, which is also an online exclusive. Some of the dies in Filled with Fun coordinate with the Filled with Cheer. So we're going to be using some of those tonight. We've got this banner piece and the wagon piece, the wheels, and then you can cut yourself a wagon handle. Okay, so I'm actually going to be stamping the wagon handle from Filled with Fun and die cutting it with that die. Now, these dies are on back order till September, but don't let that stop you from getting the Filled with Cheer stamp set, because these are really pretty easy to fussy cut. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Hi, Tracy. Oh, Cynthia, you just used the Winter Meadow paper? I think that's what you're talking about. I really like that paper. It's so beautiful. Okay, let's get started with our first card. Well, actually, we're making one card and one 3D project tonight. So let's start with our card. And I've done a lot of the prep. This stamp set's a lot of coloring, and I didn't think that you needed to watch me do a ton of coloring, so we're not going to do that. But I am going to show you how I stamped out the images. Just a little tip when you're stamping a bunch of images in the same color of ink, taking a quarter sheet of basic white cardstock, and I've mounted all of my stamps that I want stamped in Memento in my stamp positioning tool. And I'm going to ink these all up all at once. And I've left enough room between these so that I can use the die cuts for what I can. Okay. So I've got those. I'd like this one to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to go back and add a little bit more of the Memento. And that's the beauty of a stamp positioning tool. So I can just darken that up. Now I do need one more wheel, but I'm not going to use my stamp positioning tool for that. I'm just going to switch that over to a block. Well, actually, I'm not even going to do that because I've already die cut them, so it doesn't really matter at this point. Just going to put those away. But you do need two of the wheels, okay? Now I'm going to take my wagon piece and I'm going to take Early Espresso. I'm going to ink up my wagon. I'm going to turn this upside down. I'm going to stamp my wagon in Early Espresso. And then I'm going to take the wagon handle from Filled with Fun and some cherry cobbler ink. And I'm going to ink that up. Well, let's try inking it up all the way, not just partially. And then I'm going to stamp that down. Okay. And if I were going to do my second wagon wheel, I would do that right here. And then I would be able to run everything through my die cut machine all at one time. Okay, so like I said, I have done a bit of the coloring, but I did want to show you a little bit of how this all came together with my Stampin' Blends. Okay, and I also wanted to show you the colors that I'm using. So I really need to find a way to do this better. Okay. It's a lot easier for you guys if I have this all organized. Then you know exactly what we're using. Okay. Hopefully that all fits in the screen. These are the colors. Actually, I'm not using light pumpkin pie because I switched to the dark peach pie. Okay, so there's our group of stamping blends. And I'll just quickly show you, I used the dark peach pie for the carrot nose, dark and light smoky slate, which is not here. Where's my light? Must be in another tab. Must be in another tab. There it is. Oh, wait a minute, because this one I didn't do that way. Okay, let me back it on up. I've got the light basic black and the dark smoky slate. That's what I need to be doing. So I took the dark basic black. I'm just going to put a little bit on the hat here. And I'm going to just dab a little bit of black along the brim there. And then right in the corners. And then I'm going to go back in and go over that black, moving toward the center, and fill in the rest. But I want to go over the top of my basic black to really make that blend and look like one cohesive color. Okay, so there is my hat. And then for the scarf and the brim of the hat, I took the light and dark cherry cobbler. And we're going to do this much the same way, and I'm only going to do this part here because you get the picture. And we're just going to put a little bit of dark down there, put a little bit of dark under the neck there. If my blend were newer, that would be a lot less underneath his neck. But my tip is a little bit on the rough side. It's not quite as sharp. And then I'm just going to work these in. Okay, and there's a scarf. I would do the same thing with the hat. And the same thing here. This is all going to be, I need to start with a dark. And I'm just going to go out a bit. I'm going to put some dark here and some dark there. And I'm just going to dab a little bit of dark along there. And then I'll go back and work those colors together to blend. Okay, these are really fine, so you really want, when you get to that fine part, you just want to dab that. Okay, and then while I've got my cherry cobbler out, I would color my balls on my tree. Okay. All right, so that's that. For my snowman, I'm going to take my light gray granite. And snowmen are white, so I don't need to do much, but I did want to put in a little bit of color. So I'm just dotting along the artist lines here and where there would be a shadow. Literally just dotting. Under the brim of the hat. Artist lines there. These are the artist lines. I'm going to dot there. And then I'm going to dot just a little bit on each one of the little rocks. Or coal, whatever you want to call them. Okay. Then I'll go back with the color lifter. And I'm going to repeat that process, just dotting where I put in that gray granite. Just to lighten it up a little so that it looks like it's a shadow. Okay. And then before I forget, I'll shake up my wink of Stella. Hello, Lynette. And I'm just going to dab in again along that gray granite some wink of Stella to make that look like it's got a little frozen sheen. Okay. All right. And then we're going to we'll move to dark and light wild wheat. Oh, you know what? While we're here, we needed to take the light cherry cobbler. We already have this color, so let's do it. and color. Oh, shoot. That's not supposed to be every third one. I messed that up. Oop. Okay. And then I'm going to color the center of the wagon wheel there. Okay. We will put red along here, but I'll just show you how I did that. The important part is I'm going to show you how I did this. Okay, so let's take the wild wheat, and I messed this up. So we would put wild wheat here and here. Put some wild wheat here. Okay. I want a little bit of dark, so I'm going to just give that just a little bit of dark, and then go back and blend that in. Okay. And then we're going to take our light wild wheat and do the rest of the Christmas balls there. Okay. Oops. And the light wild wheat for the star. Okay. And again with that, we're going to add some Wink of Stella. Okay. For the tree, I'm using dark and light Mossy Meadow. And I'm going to take my dark Mossy Meadow, and I am literally going to put some dark Mossy Meadow scribbles in here. Just a little bit. Scribbles. And then I'm going to go back with the light Mossy Meadow and fill in the rest of that tree, blending those colors. Okay. And then you can't even really tell that I scribbled. That darker color in. Okay. So there's my tree with its lights and darks. Again, I'm taking my Wink of Stella and dotting on my names. Then I'm going to take from the Natural Tones collection. I'm using the Deep SU200 and the Medium Deep SU400. Okay, so I'm going to start with the Deep, and on my sled, I'm just going to flick on some darker colors over the artist lines around them. Then I'm going to go back with the Medium Deep and blend those two together and fill that in. Okay, so that's that. And then for the sled rails here, I'm just using the light gray granite. Okay, and there's that, and the light Mossy Meadow goes here, here. And I'm taking the Medium Deep SU200, and I'm going to run that along the spokes here on the wheels. Okay. And for the tire, there are artist shine lines on both sides here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my light basic black and I'm going to go between the shine lines. Okay. And then I'm going to go back with my dark smoky slate and fill that in and blend it into the black. Okay. And then my wheel is complete. Okay, finally for the base of the wagon here, what I did was I took the medium deep and the deep, and I picked my lines and I just followed them through to the other side. Okay. And then we're going to just pick a line, follow it through, pick a line, follow it through. Okay, and you're going to do that on the whole thing. And then once you get that all done, then you'll go back with the medium deep and blend those together like that. Okay, now you do have right here the actual wagon. Okay, so just put a little bit of red there if you desire, or make your whole wagon brown. I've done it both ways. Okay. Cherry cobbler seems to be getting dry. Okay, so then what you would have is this that looks like this. Okay, now you'll go ahead and take your dark cherry cobbler and go around the edges of the wagon here where there would be shadows. Okay, and then fill that in with a light cherry cobbler. And yeah, I definitely need new cherry cobbler. Okay, so you get the idea. Hope I have an extra set of those. All right, so there's our pieces. And whoop, here's our wagon body. Here's our wagon wheels. You have to fussy cut the snowman, trees, and sled part. That's all done. And then here's our banner and the wagon handle. Okay, so those are our pieces to put those together. Let's go ahead and move these out of the way and start. We've got a little bit more stamping to do. We're going to make our sentiment label, and I'm going to emboss that on a piece of cherry cobbler in the white Wow embossing powder. Okay, so I'm just gonna use my embossing buddy. Make sure I've got the opaque bright white. And then we're going to bring this in, and our sentiment says, Sending loads of Christmas cheer. So I'm going to ink that up in Versamark. Okay. And then I'm going to stamp that down right in the center there. And take my embossing powder and dump that on, and then get most of it back in the bottle. Okay, then I'm going to set this aside. And take my reverse tweezers. This also comes with that Embossing Editions toolkit. We're going to heat up our heat tool just for a few seconds. And then I'm going to heat the back of my paper first, because that's how I like to do it, and then take it to the front. And watch that melt. Okay, it looks like I've got a nice even melting there. Hi, Marilyn. Okay, so this is our sentiment label, but we are going to take and cut that. So let's go ahead and bring in the die for that. Where did that die set go? Here we are. We're using Greetings of the Season. This is also an online exclusive. I've used this quite a bit already. And I'm going to take this, and I want to shorten this label. I just kind of want the back half of it. So I'm going to put my die on there. I'm going to tape that down. Okay. Then we'll bring in the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss. Our base plate number 1. Our cutting plate number 2. Die and cardstock. And another base plate number 2. Or a cutting plate. So I'm going to take and run this through, and I want this to go back just a little bit. Oh, what am I thinking? Yeah, just like this. Okay. And I've got that. Okay. And now I'm just going to take this and bring in my trimmer. And trim that off. And now I've got my sentiment label, and I've got my nice banner on the back end. And this is now ready for a card. Let's start assembling, because that's where we're at. Now, what did I do with that die? Let's get that put away before I lose it. Okay, so we need also from the Greetings of the Season, I have cut this tag. So it's this one right here. And I've cut that in basic white. Okay. So we have that as well. Now let's go ahead and fold our card base in half. This is a 5.5 by 8.5 inch piece of cherry cobbler cardstock. I've already scored it at 4 1/4 in the middle. And then we're going to bring in a piece of the Iconic Celebrations Designer Series paper. This is also an online exclusive. You get 48 sheets. This is a multi-occasion pack. You've got Christmas, New Year's, Halloween, fall, Valentine's Day. There's some New Year's. You could use birthday, Hanukkah, all kinds of things you can use for that. All right. So we're going to add this to our card base. Just using some Stampin' Seal. And well, I do better with these if I open them up. Okay, I just want to center that on there as best I can. Okay. Get it nice and straight, and there we go. Okay, so now let's take the pieces to our wagon and our label here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put down my wagon handle right over the top of my hole on my tag so that doesn't show. Okay. So I'm going to take just a little bit of liquid glue. I don't want to get carried away, and I did. So we got a little much, so we just take and dot that on our silicone mat, set that aside. And then I'll take my wagon handle here and set that right over the top of that hole. Okay. Now, when I cut this, I should have left myself a little. When you fussy cut yours, leave yourself a little bit of white at the bottom so that you can glue it on easier. I didn't do that, so it's going to make it a little bit harder for me to get these together. So take just a little bit of liquid glue, and I'm going to bring that wagon to my snowman and attach those two pieces together to make one. Okay? Now, we can go ahead and add this to our piece here. We're going to not glue anything at the bottom so we can slip our wheels up underneath, okay? So we'll put a little bit. I did not pop this up. I just put it down flat. So let's get that. Let's put our wagon handle here. And before we give that a press, let's put our wheels down because we want to make sure we've got room for those. And they don't have to be right where they belong. I just am looking for the height. Okay. Now before I go any further, and I'm not pressing that down super hard in case I need to move it. Okay, before I go any further, I'm going to take my light gray granite and I want to put in just a tiny bit of shadow down here. just so that it doesn't look like the wagon is sitting on nothing. Okay, and then I'm going to go back and I'll put my wheels in here just like this. So let's grab a glue dot for those. Stick that right in the middle. Put that down there like so. Actually, we're going to move this up a bit. I want to move that tire up. Let me move that tire up. Let's put this back down here. I want my tire to go about right like that. So let's put a wagon here, like so. And then we'll get another glue dot on this wheel. And again, we're just going to slide that up underneath. Like so. Okay, so now we're ready to add this piece to our card base. Like this. So let's get that up. I'm not adding a lot of dimension because Christmas cards get mailed and we don't want to pay a bunch of extra postage. Okay. So let's put this down here. Like this. That on. That. We're going to add our sending loads of cheer right up here. Stick that right in here so that you can't even really see the end of that. I'm going to take my nail. You could do this with a bone folder. And bend those pennant ends. Put that right in there like that. And then we're going to take some mini dimensionals here. And if you put these just so, I want this to go just like that. You can put a full mini on every other one. Okay. And just take those backings off. And add our banner or lights to the wagon right there. And there is the front of our car. Now let's add the embellishment. Take our Tick Your Pick tool. These are our iridescent foil gems. And I'm going to take a large one and put it up here. And then we'll do one here small and one here small. Okay. Give those a little press with the tip so that they stay in place. Then for the inside, I took a greeting from the Greetings from the Season, took another piece of that designer series paper that I cut off from the bottom of this piece. We'll add that to the inside. And our card will be finished. All right, I hope you like that. Here is the envelope. Okay. I'm glad you like that, Tracy. Okay, so let's move on to our 3D project. We've got to get moving. I'm going to clean up just a bit, get some things out of the way. And let's move this over and grab our little 3D project. Okay, so for our 3D project, I've made a little box, and I wanted to use this set but go with completely different colors. So we've got a piece of bubble bath cardstock, and we are going to score this. This cardstock is 7 by 4 3/4. So on the 7-inch side, I'm going to score this at 1 1/8, 3 1/4, 4 3/8, and 6 1/2. And I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees or 90 degrees, just a right turn. And then we're going to score this again at 1 1/8, then 2 7/8, and 4 inches. Okay. Okay, and here's the template for our box. Okay, so let's go ahead and burnish all of our score lines. You really want to do that when you are making a box so that everything is nice and squared up. And it folds together quite nicely. Okay, so we've got that. All right. Now we'll take our scissors. And this little tab here is our glue tab. We need to only keep this little tab right here. So I'm going to angle cut to the second score line there and angle cut to the first score line on the right. Okay, and then I'm going to go right down that score line and remove those pieces. Okay, now this is the bottom of our box, and this is the top of our box where we have the two sections. One section, and this is the actual box body. Okay, so I'm just going to cut up on the straight line of the rectangle and then angle cut into that score line on there. I'm going to angle cut this very edge here, and then I'm going to cut up the straight rectangle to the first score line and then angle cut in to that score line, which removes the score line. And I'm going to repeat that on this rectangle straight up and angle in to remove that score line. Okay, the bottom of our box is complete. So let's turn to the top of the box, and now we're going to cut on the large rectangle up to the second score line straight. Okay, same thing here on the large rectangle straight up to that second score line, and repeat here. Okay, so now I've liberated all of those tabs. We do not need this section, so I'm going to bend the glue tab back just a little bit. I'm going to cut right along the inside of that score line so that I have a nice smooth top and remove that section. Okay. Now I'm going to fold this down, bring back in my trimmer. You could hand do this, but I find it just as quick to do it with a trimmer. I'm going to trim this at 1 inch. So I should have 1, 2, 3, 4 rectangles there. And I'm going to cut those pieces off. Okay. And I cut that at 1 inch because I wanted to cut these a little shorter so that they don't overlap each other. So then I'm going to bring this in and I'm going to angle cut these sections. Just a slight angle cut. You don't want to angle cut too much on these tabs because they're what holds your box top closed. Okay, so just a tiny little sliver. It's not much at all. Okay, all right. So now we need to do a little trimming. I like to have a nice corner. Now, if you don't have a corner rounder, you can hand cut these corners. I have done that, but I have a corner rounder and I remembered to do it. So I'm just going to give that a trim. Oh, and for some reason that is not wanting to go. Okay, well, we're going to hand trim that anyway. Just going to hand trim that right there. See if it'll work on this side. Perfect. And then I want a finger tab so that the recipient knows where to open this. So I'm going to take a 3/4 inch circle punch and I'm going to go about 1/3 of the way down into that circle. Try to center that and give that a good clip. Okay. Now, before we do anything else, this is what our box looks just like our template. Okay. So let's set that template aside. We're going to put on our designer series paper. So I have the 6x6 Subtles designer series paper stack, and I'm using the Bubble Bath, although I didn't think it looked much like Bubble Bath, but it's definitely not Petal Pink because that looks even more off. So I'm going to take the dotted side, because you could use either side, whatever you like. I'm using the bubble side, and I'm going to add this to my box. Okay, and this is going to be the front of my box, so I'm going to add this right here. And this piece of designer series paper is, didn't write it down. Okay, well, let's see. 2 by 1 5/8. Okay, so 2 by 1 5/8. And then I've got 2 pieces that are 1 inch by 1 5/8. And I'm going to add these. I'm going to use liquid glue because it's easier. Okay, what did I do with my extra fingers? So I'm going to do that. And I can slide that right into place where I want it. Let's do that again. A little bit of liquid glue, Tombow. Okay. And then this piece is 2 inches by 1 inch. Now, if you have a directional paper, you want this 2 by 1 to be in the landscape, as well as this, and these two in portrait, if it's directional. Okay, so we've got our designer series paper on. Okay, now we can put our box together. Okay, so we're going to take some tear and tape, and I'm going to grab that silicone mat again, and we'll put this right here. So I want tear and tape here, and then I'm going to put tear and tape on the bottom of this piece here because this is the front of the box. And then I'm going to put a little bit of tear and tape on both of these tabs. Okay. Let me give those a good press. And then we'll put this box together and decorate it. Okay, so I've removed that tape. Now I'm going to fold this on the second score line from the left, and this side, the first score line from the right. And I'm going to line up these score lines top and bottom, and then I'm just going to give that a good press. Okay, now I can take my box, fold in my sides, close up the top, and now this is the back of my box, so my back is going to go in first. I'm going to remove all the backings on these other three bottom pieces, the bottom flaps. And then I'm going to press my side flaps in over the bottom, and then the front flap over all of it. And then I'll open this up, give that a nice burnish, and I've got a nice clean inside bottom so nothing gets stuck on there. Okay, so what fits in this box? Well, you can put 2 Snickers fun size bars in here, or I've got 2 fun size York peppermint patties. I'm going to put those in and close that up, and then we're going to decorate and we'll be done. So I've already taken and cut a label punch, the Labeled with Love punch, from a piece of basic white cardstock, and I ran that through the exposed brick 3D embossing folder. Okay, now I'm going to take this piece now. I did that ahead of time because we're going to do a little bit of ink blending on this with some Daffodil Delight. Okay, so let's get our Daffodil Delight and a blending brush and put a little bit ink on there. And I don't want this to be very dark, so I'm just going to give this a very light coat. And that is it. Okay, now let's go ahead and wipe that off of our mat. And next, we need to stamp our focal image, which I thought I did, but I guess I didn't already. So we're going to take Pebbled Path. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm taking Memento. I didn't put my Memento back. There it is. Okay. No, I did use Pebbled Path because why else would I have put it out there? Okay, so we've got Pebbled Path, and I've got this group of flowers and gifts. I only want the flowers. I don't want the gifts, so I'm not even going to ink up all of it. Just going to ink up enough to get, I don't think this is for this. Hang on, I need another piece of white. That's not quite big enough. It's too close for what I want. It's going to make it hard for me to do. Okay, so let's just do this. All right, there we go. Any scrap piece of white will work. Okay, let's set that aside for a minute. And then we're going to stamp our hello. And this says a warm hello, but I just want hello. So I'm going to mask this off. Take a piece of Post-it note tape. And I'm just going to mask off the top where it says a warm. And again, I'm going to take the pebbled path. I'm going to ink this up. And I'm going to pull off the tape. That's the most important part. Make sure you pull off that tape. And then we're going to stamp down hello. Okay. That's giving, while we're doing this, we're giving this time to dry completely. Okay, so let's go ahead and die cut this. We're going to bring back in those Greetings of the Season dies. I love these dies. They work for everything. And I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to tape that down. Okay. Bring in our mini. Plate 1, cutting plate 2. Take my die cut. Put that in there. Put my plate in. I don't need it to go all the way because I don't want the whole thing. So I'm just going to stop it right there. And I'm going to pull this out. Okay. And then I'm going to turn this. And I'm going to lay this back down in those grids. If your die bends there in the center, just give it a gentle press. Set those right down in those grooves. It will lock in. Put this end where you want it. Tape that down. I do a lot of altering of my dies for sentiments. And then I don't need to cut the whole thing, so I'm just going to put my plate where I want it to stop cutting. And now I'm good. Okay, so when we take this out now, we went from this to this. Perfectly fits that hello. Okay, we're almost done here. Let's go ahead and color these. Not sure why I didn't do that ahead of time for you guys. Okay, so for this, we've got Shaded Spruce, Shy Shamrock, Dark and Light Flirty Flamingo, Daffodil Delight, Pretty in Pink, and the Pebbled Paths. Okay, so there's your color palette. And okay, all right, so really I'm going to take the Dark Flirty Flamingo and the Dark Pretty in Pink, and I'm really not using these two. Okay, I'm going to take my Dark Flirty Flamingo and I'm going to dab in some color on these flowers. Okay, and then I'm going to go back with the dark pretty in pink and we'll fill that in, blend those. Okay. Just get those all colored. All right. Then before I get too carried away, I'm going to do my pots here, and I'm going to use dark and light pebbled path, but I'm going to start right up here because this is a piece of the pot, and so is this. And I want just a touch there and there. Okay, and then I'm going to go along here, my dark, move in where there would be the shadow. Okay, and then we're going to take the light pebbled path and bring those two colors together, making sure that I go over the dark so that it blends nicely. Okay, there's my pots. And I'm going to do my bows, taking the dark Daffodil Delight. Again, where there would be shadows, I use the dark. And then I'll fill in the rest with the light, bringing the dark and the light together to blend. Okay. All right, so we've got that. Now, the leaves on this, we're going to take these three colors, and I'm going to start with dark shaded spruce, and I'm going to dab in, literally, dab in some dark shaded spruce. On my leaves. Just dotting. Then I'm going to go back with the light shaded spruce. And I'm going to dot some more. Okay. And then I'm going to go back with my Shy Shamrock. I'm going to blend that all together. And take out where I don't want there to be any white. Okay. All right. Now I got a little bit of green where I don't want it, so I'm going to go back with my color lifter, and on the outside of that green I'm going to push it back inside that line. Just pushing it a little bit. Okay, so there's my flowers, and of course, what are flowers? Oh, I need the centers, so I need that dark Daffodil Delight, and I'm just going to put a touch of yellow in the center of those flowers. Then we're going to go back, some Wink of Stella on my flowers and on my bow. Okay, and then I have to hand trim this out. There's no die for this. So I'm going to rough cut this to start with. And then I'm just going to go in here, turn my paper with my left hand, open and close the scissors with my right, leaving a little bit of a white border. As you can tell, this really does not take a long time to cut. And you can cut it as intricately or as wide as you want. Your project, you choose. Okay, so we're almost done. And there we are. Okay, so now we've got this image. It's time to start putting these on our box. So because this is a 3D project, I can put as many layers as I want. So I'm going to start with 3 dimensionals on the back of my label. And then I'm going to take my hello. I'm going to use mini dimensionals for this. And I'm going to put those along the very bottom of the hello. Like so. And I'm going to pop up my flowers. I want to keep these kind of low because I'm going to tuck in some sprigs over here. So put this like here. Let's go ahead and get this on our box. Make sure I've got it the right side up. Stick that right about in the middle, like so. We're going to add our hello. Down here. Okay. Flowers. Stick these over here. And then I've die cut from the Lovely and Sweet dies 2 little sprigs. Okay, so this was in the catalog previously, so it's no longer bundled, but it's this little piece here on the Lovely and Sweet dies, cut in basic white. I'm going to take the Pretty in Pink and the Dark and Shaded Spruce and Shy Shamrock. I'm going to grab a piece of scrap paper and we are going to start with the Dark Shaded Spruce. And I'm going to put in some color here. Okay, and we'll do the same thing on this one. Oh, I always forget this one little green spot right there. Okay, there. And then we're going to go back with the Dark Shy Shamrock. And if you have a good tip on your blend, you'll want to use it here because it's a lot easier. Okay, just go right back over that shaded spruce. Blend that all together. Okay, and then we're going to take our pretty and pink, go in the centers of those flowers. Okay, and then we're taking the dark Flirty Flamingo, and we're going to finish that up. Okay, I think I should have done that the other way. Oh well. When you do yours, put your dark Flirty Flamingo in the center and the dark Pretty and Pink on the outside. Oh, there. And let's get rid of some of these little white spots here. I don't want. Okay. And hello, Jen. So glad you could join us. All right. Tracy, thank you. I'm so glad you like those. So I'm going to take the glue dot. I'm going to grab a glue dot. I'm going to take one of these flowers and I'm going to put it at the base of the leaves, the glue dot, and then I'm going to attach these two together with that glue dot, like that, and then, oh, I'm going to cut this off right there, take another glue dot, and I'm going to set that in there, like that, and finally, we have the iridescent faceted gems. And I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool, the putty end, and I'm going to take a large starburst and I'm going to put down here. And then I'm going to take one here and one there. Give those a little bit of press. And there is our completed box filled with cheer, but it really doesn't look so much Christmassy. So I hope you like that box. Again, 2 Snickers fun-sized candies. You can also put 4 Hershey's Nuggets in here if you put them this way, and the 2 York Peppermint Patties. Okay, so we've got that. Here's the card we made. I hope you enjoyed that. If you make any of these, be sure and post a picture on the K&T Designs by Teresa Stampers Group social page so that we can all take a look. All right, everybody. I will be back on Thursday night on YouTube with a live fun fold tutorial. And then I'll be back again next Tuesday night on Facebook Live. Same time, 7 p.m. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the kind comments. See you soon. Good night. Hello, Sandra.